Hello, hello. Happy December, Ted. Welcome to December 2024.
That's weird.
I know, we're already in December. Hello, everybody out there in streaming land. I am Manila Chan. That over there is Ted Rawl. You are tuned into the Ted Manila Information Show, also known as the TMI Show for short, where we're going to bring you way too much information. And I think today is going to be one of these gross TMI days, because what we were talking about just before we got on air.
So true.
You guys just wait for the fifth headline.
Just
wait.
wait.
Just you wait. So we're going to talk about anything from, news, politics, lifestyle, culture, all that stuff here on this show. The taboo. And I think headline 5 qualifies as that, Ted.
100%.
The taboo. The taboo.
It's not 90. It's not like Ivory Soap where it's 99 and 44 100% pure. This is 100% pure taboo.
100% gross taboo. Anything and everything goes on this show. So if you are watching at work, we will warn you now. You might want to turn the volume down because this is not safe for work. We do let the F-bombs fly. We do not curtail that. And we have some fun along the way, and we laugh about all of this stuff because you just can't have too much information. All the stuff you already know you want to hear about, and then all this gross stuff that you didn't know that you wanted to know about.
And yet, there you are.
And here you are. You're still here. We are live Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern. So please be sure to like and follow this program. We are just beyond our first month of live programming, the Ted Manila Information Show. Obviously, if you are on YouTube, if you can please go ahead and hit that thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything. It will very much help this program get to monetization, so that way we can actually start making some income. After Ted and I were both abruptly laid off a little over a month and a half ago. And if you are on Rumble, if you are on the .com, you can help support us by going to the bottom of the chat stream or the chat box, where you can type in, whatever comments, shade, love, whatever you have. And you'll see the little white subscribe button. If you hit that, that'll take you to a $5 a month monthly subscription where you can help support the show, because we are 100% viewer supported. So we can keep going and hopefully make a real go of this show, where we are untethered to talk about really gross, weird news that you didn't know you wanted to hear about. Today, of course, main topic, the Hunter Biden pardon. After, Ted, Papa said, well, I'm not going to pardon that guy. I'm going to stay out. But here we are. So
it reminded me a lot of when, like in The Simpsons, there's an episode where Homer doesn't go to church and everything it's like the best day he ever had. Everything goes fantastic. And he's like, I don't think
he doesn't go to church?
And he's like, I don't think because he doesn't go to church. And so Marge goes like, Homer, are you saying you've lost your faith in God? And Homer goes, No. Well, yes.
Yes.
That's how Joe Biden was like. Are you going to pardon Hunter? No. Absolutely
not. Of course not.
No friggin' way.
Yeah, well, I would say par for the course. Last thing we'll touch on real quick before we jump to headlines. Look, Ted's face is healing up. I'm able to say more than a few sentences before I start fucking up a lung. And I just have a gripe, Ted. I just want to share one gripe. So for those who are new to the program, or, new to me, this, Ted, we found out earlier this year I had breast cancer, blah, blah, blah. So tomorrow will be 90 days since I had the double mastectomy. And the one thing I'm really pissed off about, believe it or not, is that nobody bothered to tell me that I'm still considered a cancer patient or that I'm immunocompromised. Can you believe that? That I was, because for me, after the mastectomy, I thought, like, okay, yay, the cancer is out of my body. I have a new rack. Like, everything's great, right? Like, I'm great. I jumped. I couldn't wait.
By the way, I'm going to ask this. Did it cross your mind, like, I'm going to roll Dolly Parton style?
I did. I thought it. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I did, of course. Because I mean, I'm like, what the hell? Why, like if you're gonna have insurance pay for your new boob job,
it's the same price no matter what. Yeah.
right? No matter what, like it is what it is. So I thought it crossed my mind, and I thought, I kind of role played like I did as a kid, like putting on like a bra and stuffing it, and being like, could I live with giant honkers? Like,
Yeah.
do I want that?
You have
Do
to
I
wonder
want that when they take it? I thought it, but I was, when I tried moving my arms around, I was like, oh, oh, yeah.
God, like one time I started dating this girl, and on the very first date, she was like, "Oh yeah, so I have breast reduction surgery scheduled for like next week," and I was like, and
God.
she had big ones, and I was like, and I could see, I totally understand why women get that done sometimes. It's very uncomfortable in many cases, but I was just kind of like thinking, God, this is like a cruel joke. Like, it's like these big ones are. I'm going to get in there, and like I'm really looking forward to that. And it's
You're
like,
like,
no,
yeah,
no,
woohoo!
no, not really, no.
You're like, woohoo! I met a gal with big ones, but
Yeah,
it crossed my mind. But I mean, you know me, I'm very small framed, I'm very thin. Like
it wouldn't have
would
made any sense, really.
It would look stupid and tacky.
It would look
I think.
stupid. Yeah,
Yeah, it would
you're
look
right.
stupid.
You made the right call.
So I told them to, put me back to normal, which they did, and I think they did a great job. However, they did a great job everywhere. All the different doctors I had to deal with, the oncologist, hematologist, the breast doctor, the plastic surgeon. Not one person, Ted, not one person in any of these offices bothered to tell me that just because the cancer has been removed doesn't mean that you're well. Which is why I've discovered now, I'm immunocompromised, which explains why I've been getting sick as a dog over every little passing bug that enters, passes my way. It's, oh, you're on mute. Oh, Ted, you're on mute.
That's going
It's
to
extra
alleviate.
bad.
That'll alleviate, right? I mean, you're going to be, your immunity is going to come back. It's not like it's going to be like this forever. But
no,
you're right. I mean, look, that's how. I mean,
they don't tell you.
You got to be careful. Okay, so my former attorney, he would still be my attorney if not for the events that I'm about to describe. In the 1990s, he got stage 4 brain cancer. And he was he's sitting at his desk one day, and suddenly, and we're talking about a very high-end attorney, like he represented Stephen King. He argued before the U.S. Supreme Court. So anyway, one day and his face just collapses, like, and he can't talk, right? So anyway, then it comes back, but he thought he was having a stroke. Long story short, he has this big-ass tumor in his brain. He's a massive researcher, right? So he gets on and he finds out about this experimental program at Duke University that subsequently ended up on national television. It's been covered by 60 Minutes and so on. And what they do, it's fascinating. They inject live polio virus directly into the brain tumor. And so what happens is you have polio in your brain tumor. Your immune system responds by attacking the polio, and it eats up and kills the tumor at the same time, right? It works every fucking time. I don't know if this is still true, but it was true for years. But basically, everyone who was in a clinical trial went into total remission. So basically, they're cured, right? They don't say that. No one cancer patients are never considered cured, but they're cured.
Right.
And in other words, you're never going to get it again. Anyway, the point is, he goes, he gets it done. Stage 4. They tell him, dude, it's gone. You can go back to work. Everything's cool. You're good. So he's very weak from all the years from the chemo and all that. So he goes to the Poconos just to relax, just to chill for the summer. And then he's like, okay, we're going to get back to work in September. And I'm really looking forward to it. Anyway, while he's in the Poconos, he decides to go fishing.
Oh, no.
And he hooks his fingers just barely with the fishing hook because his immune system, because his immune system was so compromised, the infection spread like wildfire. He was dead in hours.
Oh my God.
So Be careful.
Oh my God.
Be
Yeah,
fucking
no,
careful.
isn't that don't I mean I it's not like I have some bunch of shit ass doctors. I'm in Fairfax County.
Right.
This is
Well,
like
this
the
guy didn't have
wealthiest county in
he didn't
America.
have a shit ass doctor either. He was, he's in
Right.
Midtown Manhattan. He was at
These
NYU.
These are great doctors I have, and I'm not like that's the one complaint I have is like in the post care. I wish somebody would have bothered to warn me that instead of and I'm not some unsophisticated patient either, but you don't know what you don't know and you don't know what to
Right.
ask, right?
Right.
So somebody should have volunteered to tell me that even though I'm otherwise fairly young, very healthy, thin, all that other stuff, despite that, you are still immunocompromised, and this is what happens to your body when you have cancer. Your white blood cells are way down, and everything can fuck you. Every little thing can fuck you. So don't go in public. Don't go to concerts. Don't go to don't go to crowded restaurants. Don't do those things. Nobody told me those things, Ted. No fishing. Don't get yourself cut. Just live like a bubble boy.
No
or
one
bubble
told
girl.
Paul that either. No one told Paul.
There you go.
I was so. I still miss him.
No one told me.
1990. Sorry, this was 2000. I miss him like crazy. It's like we were good friends. And
isn't that crazy that like this should be part of standard care when people that have cancer are now, told they're cancer free, like me or like your friend Paul.
Yeah, there should be like
somebody needs to tell you.
Or
somebody
a booklet. How about a little booklet, right?
A pamphlet. A booklet. Hand me a pamphlet.
Yeah, read this.
Right. Yeah, hand me a pamphlet or tell me a website to go to about how to take care of myself after cancer. And I feel like so many other people, like I didn't know that getting a tiny cold could devolve into fucking meningitis or whatever, like all of these things that have happened to me in the past 90 days because I was so busy thinking I'm cancer free. I need to get back out there and be a mom. I'm busy, like at the time I had a job. I had, all this stuff going on. And nobody bothered to tell me that I'm actually immunocompromised and I need to live like COVID lockdown. And I feel like,
not forever, but you basically you have to choose your going out judiciously.
Yes. It's like, I just wish that. So that's my only gripe. I know we got to get to headlines, but because I know people are probably like, damn, Manila's always getting sick or whatever. It didn't occur to me either until I started doing research this past week because I was like, why the fuck am I getting? I've never been this sick in my life consecutively, ever in my life.
Now, there's all these effects that people don't. That your thing makes sense.
Downstream.
Yeah, you didn't have chemo, right? So,
no.
Right.
So I thought I was fine.
Well, for example, it's analogous, right? Like my stupid broken wrist, right? Well, I've had now for a week and a half, though this cold has become a shit show for me. And like, I'm just starting to come out of it because I decided like, I'm going to dig into my old Mexican antibiotics that I bought last time.
Yeah, Mexican drugs.
And that's helping, right? So, but the point is, I'm like thinking, okay, so you have to do a deep dive. And if you break a bone, apparently all your immune system goes to fight that. And then it's like, yeah, he can deal with like, gross bleeding eyes or whatever. It doesn't matter. So, your body does all sorts of things that nobody tells you about. We have the worst medical system. It sucks so bad. Really, truly.
I wish they would tell us. But anyway, one last thing, shout out to, I don't have all the numbers after the name, but the viewer USA for a huge, generous donation on Friday, $50. Thank you so much, Mr. USA. USA. Thank you so much for that generous donation. We really appreciate it, especially over the holidays while we're out of work and, trying to make a go of this. So thank you so much, USA.
Well, we're not out of work. We're working right here.
Well,
we're out of money. That's the problem.
We're not out of work. We are below the minimum wage, Ted.
Yeah, as
that
far
part's
below
true.
as you can possibly be. All right, let's do some headlines.
All right, let's do some headlines.
Let's do the Jaws. Do the Jaws.
Let's do the Jaws.
All right, President Joe Biden announced that he has pardoned his son Hunter Biden, the most innocent, perfect human being in America, who faced sentences this month for federal tax and gun convictions. marking a reversal, to say the least, as he prepares to leave office. Today, I signed a pardon for my son, Hunter, the president said in a statement. It's a full and unconditional pardon. This official grant of clemency cannot be rescinded by President-elect Trump. Joe Biden, of course, is reneging on his numerous public promises that he made repeatedly before and after dropping out of the race that he would not do, this exact thing. The president and his top spokesperson said, Karine Jean-Pierre, said unequivocally, including after Trump won in 2024, that he would not pardon Hunter or commute his sentence. This pardon, however, means that Hunter won't be sentenced for his crimes. It eliminates any chance that he'll be sent to prison, which had been a possibility. Judges overseeing his cases will likely cancel the sentencing hearings, which had been slated for December 12th for guns and December 16th for taxes. The broadly crafted pardon explicitly grants clemency for the tax and gun offenses from his existing cases, plus, my personal favorite, any potential federal crimes that Hunter may have committed between January 1st and December 1st of 2014. This time frame, importantly, covers his entire tenure on the board of the Ukrainian gas company Burisma and much of his other overseas work, including in China. He had faced scrutiny for his controversial foreign business dealings, and Trump has repeatedly said he should be prosecuted for his activities in Ukraine and elsewhere. One of the things Trump has said that Ted Rall agrees with. Hunter Biden's lawyers on Sunday night formally notified the judges in those cases about the pardon and said in a sworn affidavit that he has accepted the pardon from his father. In new court filings, Hunter's lawyers told the judges in both cases that the pardon requires dismissal of the indictment against him with prejudice and adjournment of all future proceedings in the matter. Joe said in a statement that he decided to do it because his son was selectively and unfairly prosecuted, saying that Hunter was treated differently from people who commit similar crimes. What is that?
Not true.
Sounds like a certain orange guy I've heard about.
Not true.
The president said his political opponents in Congress instigated the charges to attack me and oppose my election. He said in his statement, I believe in the justice system, but as I have wrestled with this, not wrestling very hard, it's not exactly WWE here, I also believe raw politics has infected this process, and it led to a miscarriage of justice. I hope Americans will understand why a father and a president would come to this decision. Also, and a lying asshole. The president further claimed that Hunter was singled out for prosecution only because he is my son, allegations that were previously raised by Hunter's lawyers and resoundingly rejected by both federal judges. The judge who oversaw the gun trial in Delaware concluded that Hunter's theory of selective prosecution was nonsensical under the facts here. Okay, I don't really care what the judge said. We're going to be talking about this as our main topic at the bottom of the hour, so we don't really have to get into this in a lot. But, I mean, it's truly spectacularly cynical, even by the standards of American politics in 2024.
No, I mean, we'll jump into this later with our guest, but what load of horse shit this is. That, sure, two things can be true at once, Ted. Sure, maybe the eyes of the law were more focused on him because he is the president's son, but he wasn't treated any differently is the problem. And that's what dad is venting about. Like, maybe eyeballs were looking at him because he is Hunter Biden, but make no mistake, Ted, if you or I dumped our handgun in the back of a grocery store dumpster and got caught, we would be going to prison right now.
And I would say we shouldn't. I would say that that's not really a, but guess who voted for and argued for that exact requirement in the gun laws? A certain guy named Senator Joe Biden, senator of Democrat of Delaware, argued on the floor of the Senate that was an important part of legislation, that if you did something like that, if you lied on your gun application about being addicted to drugs, you should go to prison. I mean, basically, this is like there's justice for you and me, but not for thee, right? I mean, it's absolutely imperial and imperious and disgusting, and
it is so good to be the president's son, Ted. It's so good to be the president's son.
But here's the thing. We knew that this was probably going to happen. And what does that say about us where we are, right? The fact that Joe lied to us repeatedly, so did Karine Jean-Pierre, and we knew they were lying to us.
She always lies.
And now, I mean, the point is we shouldn't have even, like this should have been like WTF. No, it's like, it's not. That's where we are. The system is so degraded that we now don't expect anything other than this kind of bullshit. I mean, the only reason he was just like, I'm going to do it. It's during the campaign. I'll just say, fuck you. I'm not doing it. And, they won't have anything to say. Then I'll just do what I want. I mean, the impunity, it's foul. It's so toxic.
It's so bad. It's so bad. Let's save the rest for when the guest pops on.
All right. At least 25 people have been killed in northwest Syria in airstrikes carried out by the Syrian government and Russia. That, according to the Syrian opposition-run rescue service known as the White Helmets. Russian and Syrian jets struck the rebel-held city of Idlib in northern Syria yesterday, according to military sources, as President Bashar al-Assad vowed to crush insurgents who have captured the second largest city in Syria, the city of Aleppo. The army said that it had also recaptured several towns that rebels had overrun in recent days. Residents said one attack hit a crowded residential area in the center of Idlib. That's the largest city in a rebel enclave near the border with Turkey, where around 4 million people live in makeshift tents and dwellings. At least 7 people have been killed and dozens injured, according to rescuers at the scene. The Syrian army and ally Russia say that they target the hideouts of insurgent groups and deny attacking civilians on purpose. 10 kids were among the dead in the airstrikes in and around Idlib and other targets in rebel-held territory near Aleppo. The total death toll from Syrian and Russian strikes since November 27th has now climbed to 56, including 20 children. The insurgents are a coalition of Turkey-backed mainstream secular armed groups, along with Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, an Islamist group that has been designated a terrorist organization by the U.S., Russia, Turkey, and other countries. In a joint statement, the U.S., France, Germany, and Great Britain urged de-escalation by all parties and the protection of civilians and infrastructure to prevent further displacement and disruption of humanitarian access. The insurgents seized control of all of Idlib province in recent days. It's the boldest rebel assault for years in a civil war where the front lines had been pretty much frozen since 2020. They also, of course, captured the city of Aleppo east of Idlib on Friday night, forcing the army to redeploy. In remarks published on state media, Assad said, "Terrorists only know the language of force, and it is the language we will crush them with." Manila, I was kind of taken by the statement that, according to the Syrian government, dozens, quote unquote, dozens of Syrian troops had lost their lives defending Aleppo. That doesn't really ring of a very fierce defense, does it?
No. I feel like that was a little anemic of a response. If there, because if dozens died, then maybe you had 100 people there. Maybe. That doesn't seem like very many men defending the city. But look, the broader story to me here, Ted, is that out of nowhere, over the weekend, within a 48-hour span, there are these Western-backed insurgents. By that, what we mean is American-backed terrorists that have been trying to overthrow Bashar al-Assad for the past 10 plus years or whatever it's been. And they know that this is the other way to skin a cat. And by that cat, I'm talking about the World War III cat, by getting Russia involved, because Russia and Syria have a pact, right, to defend Syria, as they did during ISIS and all of that, during the first Trump administration, during the Obama administration. Putin has promised to come to his friend Bashar al-Assad's back, have his back, and as they would here as well. But obviously, the Russians have been a little busy, Ted, the last 2.5 years. So I feel like the U.S. has taken this opportunity, since they were obviously losing the front in Ukraine directly. They're like, let's go this backdoor route and try to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Let's try to drag Russia through the mud again and try to get Bashar al-Assad out of there. In the last 7 weeks that Biden's in power, the Victoria Newlands and the Sullivans of the world are all like, let's do this. We have less than 2 months. We got to do this. So they're like, all right, let's go to plan B. Aleppo it is. So for everyone else that's having like the Gary Johnson moment of, what is Aleppo? This thing has been ongoing for 10 plus years. The United States has said so many times that the goal was to get Bashar al-Assad out of office. And Trump has even said, to go to the eastern side of Syria, and we're still sitting on their oil fields right now. The people in the West, after that horrible earthquake a year and a half ago, they've been unable to really rebuild or even get aid from around the world because of these horrible U.S. sanctions. These U.S. sanctions are once again causing humanitarian problems, as well as now we're directly financing these fucking rebels that are over there that are killing children. They're beheading children. There's videos happening out there. These are the same people that are ISIS and Al-Qaeda all coming together in Aleppo. And these idiots at the State Department are over here going, yeah, this is great. We're going to get Bashar al-Assad out of there. At what cost? These are disgusting people in Washington that are backing the terrorists, that are these insurgents, whatever they want to call them, rebels. They're not fucking rebels. They are insurgent terrorists, period. That's what they are. And the United States is also being anemic in calling that out because we're funding them. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, you can call them rebels, right? I mean, they're certainly they are rebels. I mean, they're anti-government forces. But that said, no, I agree with the rest of it. I mean, this looks like a exact replay of what happened about 10 years ago when, after the Arab Spring, the U.S. and Secretary of State Hillary Clinton under the Obama administration decided to finance something called the Free Syria Army, which then morphed into something called the Al-Nusra Front, which then split off into ISIS and Al-Qaeda in Syria. ISIS, of course, people might forget what it stands for. The acronym is for the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria. And for a time, ISIS controlled about half of Syria and half of Iraq, and it created basically its own land-based caliphate. And they would like to do so again, and they're still obviously an important terrorist organization. And these are many of the same people, by their own accounts, by the way, even by the accounts of Western media. This organization is largely Al-Qaeda. There's not much word on how many of them are ISIS, but certainly some of them are ISIS. And these are, I mean, you have to sort of game this out to its logical conclusion. What would happen if Assad were overthrown and these people took over all of Syria? Well, you'd have a replay of what happened in Iraq after the overthrow of Saddam Hussein, where they also have a Ba'ath party, right? I mean, Syria has Assad's party is the Ba'ath party. Assad, I want to be really clear here. He's a secular, socialist, authoritarian ruler who basically puts women in government. It's very analogous to the way it was with Gaddafi in Libya and with Hussein in Iraq. And all three of these governments basically are the best that you could possibly hope for in this part of the world. And the U.S. wants to is out to overthrow this one and replace it with radical jihadis who, if they get into power, will make the Taliban in Afghanistan, whether you look at Taliban 1.0 from 96 to 01 or Taliban 2.0, which came into power in 2021, make them look like moderates. I mean, these are very, very extreme people. And it's as usual, it's the U.S. with their sick, enemy of my enemy is my friend policy. Right. But these are people that the American people, temperamentally, culturally, in terms of religion, politically, we have nothing in common with. These are these are more like the people who attacked us on 9/11, and we're giving them money, arms, and diplomatic.
But they don't like Bashar al-Assad, Ted. So that's enough.
Right.
We're besties now. We're besties.
Yeah, and because Bashar al-Assad, I mean, Syria has a long-standing. They talk about how Russia's in Syria. Well, Russia's in Syria because they have a close military alliance that goes back to the Soviet period. And, I mean,
Bashar's dad.
And Syria has asked Russia to come. They're there, but meanwhile, the U.S. has bases there that there's no legal basis whatsoever.
We're illegally squatting on the east of the nation. illegally. All right,
look, nobody really cares about this except us. But that's why we give you this too much information. All right, here we go. The Israeli military has been fortifying its presence in central Gaza in recent months, expanding military bases and demolishing Palestinian buildings. That, according to Israeli officials and satellite images, this is a move, according to the New York Times, that suggests that Israel is preparing to exert long-term control over the Gaza Strip. Since the early months of the war in Gaza, the IDF has occupied a 4-mile road known as the Netzirim corridor that bisects Gaza to keep hundreds of thousands of displaced Gazans from coming back home to the north. That has slowly grown into an 18-square-mile block of territory that's about a tenth of the size of the Gaza Strip, now controlled completely by the IDF, according to the Israeli military and a New York Times analysis of satellite images and video. Over the past 3 months, soldiers have demolished more than 600 Palestinian buildings around the road in an apparent attempt to create a buffer zone. They've also rapidly expanded a network of outposts, expanded with communications towers and defensive fortifications. The expansion has raised speculation about Israel's plans for Gaza's future. Israeli leaders have vowed to maintain security control in Gaza even after the war, without saying clearly what that might entail. Israeli military analysts say the increase in infrastructure along the corridor might serve that purpose. Control of the Netzirim corridor, which cuts across Gaza from the Israeli border all the way over to the Mediterranean Sea, has given Israel the ability to regulate travel across the length of the enclave, keeping hundreds of thousands of displaced Palestinians in the south. In recent months, the Israeli military extended its power over territory on either side of the border of the corridor, roughly 4.3 miles wide and 4.3 miles long, to make it easier for IDF forces to hold on to the area. That, according to an Israeli military spokesman, Lieutenant Colonel Nadav Shoshani. Some Israeli ministers have said that military control in Gaza should pave the way for Jewish settlement to return, although Netanyahu has ruled that out for now. This former Israeli settlement of Netzarim, for which the military corridor is named, lies within the area, now fully under Israeli control. What an interesting coincidence. The Times analysis of satellite images over the past 3 months shows that the IDF has at least 19 large bases throughout the area and dozens of small ones. While some were built earlier in the war, the imagery also shows that the pace of construction is now accelerating. 12 bases were either built or expanded since September. Many are paved and walled off with barracks, access roads, and parking for armored vehicles. What, no Starbucks? They're often surrounded by defensive ditches, mounds, and obstacles to obstruct vehicles. Colonel Shoshani said the expanded ground occupation was simply for operational reasons. Anything that has been built there can be taken down within a day, he said. The extent of the fortifications suggests, however, that Israel is at the very least preparing for a protracted battle in Gaza. Avi Dichter, an Israeli government minister, said Israel was going to stay in Gaza for a long time. We are definitely not at the beginning of the end because we still have a lot of work to do, Mr. Dichter told reporters in Jerusalem. Looks to me like a little ethnic cleansing.
But
wash
Ted,
those Palestinians right out of my hair.
It's really good real estate. I just want to make that clear.
Jared Kushner says, and he's not wrong.
Yeah. So I'm not going to say too much about that. Just because we have a couple more headlines to get to, but that's
the Israelis are
ultimately what it
going to
boils
be harder
down
to get out of there than herpes. There's no way.
Oh God.
They're there for the count, No, look, let's be serious here. The goal all along, here's what happened. I want to be very clear. The Israelis knew that October 7th was going to happen. That's why the IDF ignored the fence breach, and even though it was a smart fence, and it's why they didn't appear for 8 hours to, in a country that takes 2 hours to drive all the way across. They didn't show up.
Weird.
They knew it was going to happen. There's no question they knew it was going to happen. They wanted it to happen, and they planned it. And they were like, once it happens, and we're willing to lose 1,000 or so Israelis.
Gives us license.
It gives us the excuse to go in there and do what we've always wanted to do, which is to annex and ethnically cleanse Gaza, kick the Palestinians, either kill or evict all the Palestinians, and we take the whole thing. We annex it. It's greater Israel. Then we can turn our attention to the West Bank. That's clearly
Right.
what's happening here.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's a succinct summary of everything that we've just witnessed. I think there's nothing I can add to that, Ted. I mean, it's just with all the shitty stuff that's happening to these people for the past how many 13 months? We 13 months into it, 14 months. 14 months into it. What else is there to say other than this is, I mean, the whole goal has played out live on social media. You can see it. You can see it. There's nothing other than like, oh, you're on mute, Ted. This is nothing but a land grab with the added perk of ethnic cleansing.
Israel's not defending itself. So you can like Israel, you can defend Israel, but this is not self-defense, because it's not self-defense if, first of all, you don't try to defend your people when they're being attacked. But it's not self-defense because this was never, the Israeli government, Netanyahu, the IDF, they never cared about their own citizens. They never cared about the hostages at all. For them, this was always about the land. In the Middle East, people are cheap, land is expensive.
Correct. Bingo. We got one more Israel story.
All right. No, it's all about the Middle East today. A former Israeli defense minister has now accused Israel. I want to say that again. A former Israeli defense minister has now accused Israel of committing war crimes and ethnic cleansing in Gaza. That's a rare critique from a member of the security establishment during a time of war. And by the way, good for him. The comments by Moshe Yaalon, first on Saturday and then multiple times on Sunday, including in an interview with one of Israel's biggest TV channels, and good for them for airing it, I don't know if that would happen here, came amid mounting criticism of the Israeli military's conduct in Gaza. They were swiftly denied and condemned by allies of Prime Minister Netanyahu, saying that they would hurt the country and help its enemies. No. Netanyahu and your allies, you are the enemies of the country. Yalon served as the Israeli military's chief of staff during the Second Intifada and as Netanyahu's defense minister during the 2014 war in Gaza, the longest conflict between Israel and Hamas before the current conflict. But he broke with Netanyahu in 2016 and has since become a critic. At the event on Saturday, Yalon denounced Netanyahu's government for its actions in Gaza. Quote, the path they're dragging us down is to occupy, annex, and ethnically cleanse. Look at the northern strip, he said. He said Israel was being pulled in the direction of building settlements in Gaza, a notion that is supported by far-right politicians in Bibi's government. When the interviewer asked Yalon to clarify whether he thought Israel was on the way to carrying out ethnic cleansing, he responded, why on the way? What's happening there? What's happening there? There's no Beit Lahia. There's no Beit Hanun. They're now operating in Jabalia. They're basically cleaning the territory of Arabs, he said, referring to towns and cities in northern Gaza. Tens of thousands of Palestinians have been killed in Gaza since the war began in response to the deadly Hamas attack on Israel in October 2023. Yalon doubled down on Sunday, saying on public radio that Bibi's government was exposing Israeli commanders to lawsuits at the International Criminal Court and was putting their lives at risk. I'm speaking in the name of IDF commanders who are operating in the northern strip, Yalon told the Reshet Bet radio station. They reached out to me expressing fear about what's happening there. He later said, in an apparent reference to the government, at the end of the day, they're perpetrating war crimes, while making clear that his issue was not with the soldiers themselves. In another interview broadcast Sunday night, he stood behind his remarks yet again and even said he no longer says Israel has the most moral army in the world, a claim often promulgated by defenders of the country. It's hard for me to say this, he told Channel 12, adding that Israel's political leadership was corrupting the military. He said the military was ordering the evacuation of towns, believing the move was for operational reasons, but he suggested some of Israel's political leaders actually intend to clear the area for Jewish settlements.
Gee.
No,
Ted, I can't believe
they
really call themselves that? The world's most moral army?
All the time.
But what kind of morals? What kind of morals are we talking about? How do we define that?
Not good ones, not high ones. I want to be clear here. We're in the business of criticizing here. That's what we do as analysts mostly. And I just want to say, I mean, it takes some balls to do what this guy is doing. And I want to hand it to him. I mean, you can imagine the pressure that's on him and his allies. Israel is a very insular society. I've been there a bunch of times. They really kind of like, part of the problem culturally is they kind of like, because they decided to resurrect this dead language, Hebrew, that's not spoken anywhere, written anywhere else in the world, they're kind of like completely cut off. And Israeli media is completely just like, it's a tunnel, right? So, Israelis kind of they rely on people like this to give them a counter narrative to the official government narrative.
Yeah.
And so I salute him. We need to see more of this kind of behavior everywhere in the world, but it's really good to see someone with integrity speaking out against what Israel is doing.
Good for the ex-defense minister. I wish there were more people that had that kind of the big balls to step up and say something like that. So that's needed. One more story, Ted. I see our guest is in the virtual backstage, so we'll do one more really gross story, Ted. The taboo story.
All right, this is our from our British block here. A woman in Sheffield faces jail after pleading guilty to having sex with a dog. Paige Reaney, 33 years old, admitted having sexual intercourse with a pug named Charlie on 4 separate occasions. She denied possessing extreme porn images of intercourse or oral sex with an animal during a brief hearing, mercifully brief, at Sheffield Crown Court on Thursday. The incident spanned between August 2019 and December 2022, the court was told. So 3 years of super woman on dog action. Her partner, Graham Marshall, 38 years old, previously admitted helping Reaney have sex with a dog. I don't really understand helping exactly what's involved there, but an earlier hearing heard how he and Reaney caused unnecessary suffering to a dog named Charlie by regularly subjecting him to habitual sexual activity. And in October, Marshall pled guilty to 1 count of aiding and abetting a female person to have sexual intercourse with a dog. I wonder if in UK common law, is there a difference between aiding a male person or a female person to have sexual intercourse with a dog? Anyway, he also pled guilty to 1 offense of causing unnecessary suffering to a protected animal, namely regularly subjecting him to habitual sexual activity, including inappropriate physical handling of the dog. And he admitted another offense of failing to ensure the welfare of the dog in that he failed to protect him from pain and suffering caused by habitual sexual activity. I don't know what protection could have been provided. Aspirin chewed up and ground up and put into his doggy treats, or lube. I don't know.
No.
But I'm going to put it out there. I don't understand, first of all, how this worked. I mean, I know.
Yes. I know what you mean.
When a guy fucks a dog, okay.
This woman's a pug fucker.
I can imagine it. But what do girl dog fuckers do?
Oh my God.
I mean,
I don't know. But that woman, like we were saying off camera earlier, I'm just going to say it. She's a pug fucker. I don't know how this worked. I don't know how the boyfriend or her husband or whatever, if he did, I don't know. I don't know the mechanics of how this worked. No. This, I think the tragedy is not only, I mean, the bestiality part is disgusting, and people are just gross. People are so, what is wrong with humanity?
That's a good question.
But this comes on the heels of this cute little guy. That's Vito. Vito the pug won the National Dog Show. And now we're learning that they're in Sheffield,
I can't see Vito the same way. I hope
Vito.
He's still a virgin.
There's a pug fucker in England.
I hope that Vito's hymen is unmolested. Well, I guess Vito doesn't have a hymen, right? But
no, Vito. Yeah, I think Vito.
He's hymenless.
Judging, his butt is probably intact.
And I would think so. I hope so.
Maybe, I don't know.
I mean,
but
I'm going to say
poor Charlie the pug in Sheffield. That's disgusting. That woman, I don't know how much time she's getting, but she
should be put down.
I mean, honestly, disgusting.
Yeah, I mean,
what is wrong with people?
What is wrong with people? I mean,
I don't get it. I don't get it. I do not get it.
I mean, I know, like I've read the New York Magazine of all things had a piece. They ran a piece by an interview with an anonymous German American who claimed to be an avid horse fucker. and
Oh my God.
and he talked about how he would sneak into people's barns, and then like he brought his own little like bucket to stand on so that he could do this. He claimed that the horses liked it, that he would like not, that it was consensual. He would like had a way, like he would
consensual.
He made the horse back up on him, and it's very detailed. You can find.
He's saying what the horse wanted it.
Yeah, the horse wanted it, according to him.
No, oh God.
I mean, he's a sick German guy. But the point is that like
the Germans.
Yeah, the German. I'm a horse fucker, and he was very like very articulate. But
oh my God.
Again, but the point is that in the article, I believe they said this is a major problem for people who own horses. Like in the country, like you have to have like people sneak into barns and fuck horses like all the time. You have to have like motion cameras.
You need like a chastity belt on your animal, like what?
Sturdy locks. Now you need security, and I'm thinking, but what's the point of living out in the country if you're not safe from like horse fuckers? Yeah, I mean, it's like,
what is wrong with people? I don't know. It's usually a case of a man doing that, and in this case, a Sheffield woman. That's pretty uncommon, but all right. Let's leave that there. Enough animal fucking for a Monday. This is just enough.
Sheffield. It's a Sheffield thing.
It's Sheffield, gross.
That shit would never happen in Manchester.
Okay, enough bestiality. I can't take anymore. It's gross. These people should be put down. It's period. Like 100%. Euthanize these disgusting people.
As you know, I'm anti-death penalty, but in this case, it's hard for me to imagine what special skills she has to offer humanity that we're going to really need. I think we'll be okay without her. I think the human race will be able to take the next step. All 7 billion of us, and we can like leave her behind at this stage.
I think we're fine. Yeah, I think we'd be fine with that, Ted. I agree with you. All right, let's get out of there and get over to our main topic. All right, Ted, you want to lead us in before we bring in our guest? Because I can see him cringing about.
Oh, and if he's not cringing, he absolutely should be cringing. All right, let me get my little script here, which. Yeah, where are you? Oh, there you are. Okay. Oh, we're down in a second. God, this is like Rush Limbaugh looking for his paperwork, except without Rush Limbaugh's talent. Okay, here we go. President Joe Biden and his press secretary and other surrogates have repeatedly told the media that he would not pardon his son, Hunter Biden, on federal tax evasion and gun charges under any circumstance whatsoever. Nothing has substantially changed, yet the president has gone ahead and issued the most controversial presidential pardon since Gerald Ford let Richard Nixon off the hook. Moreover, he has used language familiar to those who follow President-elect Donald Trump to excuse his self-dealing and lying, justifying his actions by accusing the Department of Justice of having been politicized. What does it mean when the standard bearer of the Democrats, who claim that they differ from Trump because they tell the truth, is so willing to make a mockery of the truth? What message are we to take from the fact that both political parties say that the DOJ has been politically compromised? What, if anything, does this do to the Democratic Party brand? What should Biden have done differently? Attorney and historian Tyler Nixon joins the TMI shows Ted Rall and Manila Chan, that's us, to discuss the political and cultural implications of the Hunter Biden pardon. And let me go ahead and bring in Hunter's bio. He's an Army. Tyler's. Bio. No, I don't mean to conflate Tyler Nixon with Hunter Biden. That is a huge apology. He's an Army infantry veteran, counselor at law, constitutionalist, advocate, writer, technologist, critical historian, extremist in the defense of liberty. Tyler Nixon, it's been too long. Thanks for joining us here on the TMI show.
Hi, Tyler.
Ted, Manila, little bit of substance changes in the show, huh?
A little bit.
I mean, it's literally TMI. I mean, let's go.
TMI.
You know, I mean,
it is.
Hey, but you know what?
Good Lord.
In the defense of Hunter, at least he's not.
I mean,
a pug fucker.
As far as we know.
Yeah, he's an animal.
I think.
Yeah. Gosh,
he's a lot of things. He's a lot of things, but not that.
I just,
think.
I'm stunned. I'm just trying to recover from. But anyway, let's get into the Bidens, which is a much more horrifying topic than bestiality with farm animals.
Oh
Oh
my
yeah,
God.
good to see you guys. Good to be with
So,
you.
talk to me about this crazy. Okay, I don't even know where to begin with this, Tyler, because we heard Dad saying, I'm not going to get involved. I'm going to let justice do its thing. I'm not. And then, so we're days away from his sentencing. He has 2 separate cases. He was going to get probably the book thrown at him because, you can't be seen as weak, right? Like the DOJ, you can't be seen as weak because it's the president's son. But at the same time, now Joe's claiming lawfare. That's why
Unbelievable. Just
so now he's getting what, carte blanche for a 10-year span of any possible things he may have done criminally that we do or do not know about. He's just in this 10-year span, carte blanche, nothing. He can't be held liable for any of that stuff. Like, have you ever heard of a pardon that's just that blanket open? Anything and everything could have been done in those 10 years. I mean, he could have been a pug fucker and he'd be pardoned.
yeah. Well, I got to tell you, I mean, if people don't think that the Biden nightmare, speaking of Gerald Ford, the long national nightmare will soon be over, I hope. I mean, honestly, this is just such a thumb in the eye of every American. And, look, if he wasn't so roundly rebuked in the last election, with, I mean, let's face it, it was his presidency. I mean, I think Harris was horrible, but I mean, it was just a total sweeping smackdown. And, that's, and I think a lot of people don't even view his presidency as legitimate. I mean, I think that it's for many people, it's going to be in their history of their lives, a 4-year black hole. In which we were just in a horrible holding pattern with just corruption run amok. And, I got to say, if it wasn't for the fact that we're within weeks now of the final end to the blight, to the horror that is the Joe Biden 60-year political career, I would have to be sputtering with rage. But, there's that glimmering hope that I don't care. He can pardon posthumously Stalin and I don't care what he does. Okay, he can do anything he wants. Just get the hell out of there on January 20th and good fucking riddance, Biden. I've had to live with this piece of shit for 40 years. Well, I mean, longer than that, but I mean, until I became politically aware in 1984. The first campaign I worked on was John Burris for Senate against Joe Biden, because the more I learned about Biden, learned about what he had, just his maneuvers, the man and he's only gotten worse. Let me tell you something, at least in the 1970s, 80s, he had somewhat of a sort of polished style about him. Then I think the aneurysms just totally short-circuited his brain entirely. I mean, and he just turned into this increasingly bizarre, weird, and then now creepy, narcissistic, a psychopathological egomaniac.
Really?
And, his son is a chip off the old block. But what really enrages me is that this motherfucker has the balls to cite lawfare, and as though he was targeted. You have got to be fucking kidding me. Donald Trump has been hounded to the ends of the earth by the minions of Joe Biden and his apparatchiks at the state level, run by Matthew Colangelo and all these. I mean, just this Smith fraud, Jack Smith. I mean, the whole thing. And, and from that to the lies, the Charlottesville stuff, or the whatever. And the fact of the cover up of the laptop or the calling it disinformation. Right. It's just, it's for him to act as though he's some victim. I mean, I don't know who wrote that statement. He'd have been better off just to say nothing. Say, you know what? Fuck you. I'm pardoning him. He's my son.
Right. He's my
End
kid.
of story. But he's got to come up with some insulting load of bullshit while there are people still rotting in the DC gulag from the J6 that aren't even, I mean, there's people who haven't even had trials yet. And let me tell you, if I was Donald Trump, I would literally have the 101st Airborne at 12:01 p.m. storming that facility and taking every guard and every person who runs that that hellhole down to Gitmo to face real justice. Because I mean, this is America. The way those people have been treated, and that DC. I mean, DC's dank enough as it is. In terms of like the crime problems, but I mean, for the way these people have languished, and frankly, the next move would be to break up the DC circuit, the DC District Court, and just abolish it and just merge it into Maryland, whatever have you, Virginia, and I mean, look, it's just you think of the expense that the taxpayers. I mean, you have David Weiss, the U.S. Attorney in Delaware, who has spent. I mean, I don't know how these operations like the Mueller operation did, like Jack Smith has done. How do you run up tens of millions of dollars as just lawyers running around? I mean, what do they spend it on? That's what I want to know. Like how are these lawyers getting paid this much money? Are they getting? I mean, where does this money go? It's crazy. But you think of what was. I mean, Hunter put the. I mean, you're talking about investigations. You're talking about entire court trial. You're talking about people who had to come out, jury selection. Right. All this stuff. And Joe Biden just. I mean, he's the same as he's always been. He has absolutely a total imperial mindset, a completely a royalist, really a monarchical mindset. He's always wanted to be the Kennedys. He's run around Delaware for the last 50 years or plus, with the, do you know who I am kind of attitude, cutting lines in front of people. I mean, literally, like there'd be a huge line for whatever it is. I mean, you go to the Greek festival or something. They just walked right to the front of the line. Go to local.
Oh my God.
I mean, this gets worse.
I hate line cutters.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, and if somebody says anything, do you know who I am? It's like, yeah. And people in Delaware, a lot of them are like, yeah, I know who you are, and get the fuck to the end of the line, asshole.
Get to the back of the line, asshole.
We don't care who you are. You're that doesn't wash here. But no, the worst of it was, and which just the fact that he's giving impunity to his son after he's raked in tens of millions of dollars, selling our country down the river.
Right?
The Bidens would run around Delaware to things like salons, restaurants. They would have small business contractors come in and stiff every one of them. They would go into a salon. Jill would go in, and I know this firsthand. Man, I know
a hair
the salon.
salon?
Yeah, get like $200 worth of like services for hours. They'd have to shut out all the other, and
right.
she would just walk out, not even give them anything. Just like and
so they're shitty people, is what
they
you're
are.
saying,
They're grubby, grifting parasites who have no couth. They have no moral sense. They have no class, and they have no concern for anything but their own bottom line. As I said many times when I pondered writing the book, the definitive Biden expose of his life and his family and all this, which I chose not to do because I didn't want my name associated with that piece of trash for the rest of whatever. I certainly have plenty of material, but the book was tentatively titled "Political Animal." How
that's pretty good.
Yeah, how Joe Biden became how Joe Biden became the dumbest. The most successful, dumbest. I forget what it was. Something in the DC Zoo, but whatever. And it's true of them. I've said before. That's what they are. They're political animals. They literally are. I mean, everything is about the political calculus. Everything is about viability. Everything is about their bottom line. They will, and they'll like any sort of predator out in the wild. There's no other species that matters when it comes down to
So none of this surprises you, right? Because you've known these people. I mean, you look through your high school yearbook. Obviously, it's peppered with the Biden kids. Obviously,
how did you know?
Get rid of that. Oh my God, you have your yearbook.
I literally got them out of storage 2 days ago, just randomly, and I was like, oh well, let's see. You want to see the Hunter picture? This is his senior year.
Show us.
Let's see.
Which one? Let's see.
Right there.
Go to your left. Oh, I see it.
Yeah, you wouldn't know it's the same guy, would you?
I mean, obviously he's a lot older, but he looks like a different person. I mean,
he does.
Yeah,
his face is.
Well, drugs will do that to you.
Drugs and
hard living,
clean living,
hard living, man.
Yeah,
hard living will do that to you. Well, so let me ask you then.
I got to be honest with you. When I was growing up with the Bidens and I saw Joe around, I just was exposed to his politics around town and his original presidential campaigns and just all his BS. I never envisioned. I never thought it would come to this. I never thought I would see a laughing stock, an international laughing stock, and a total disgrace and a criminal. I mean, it's how can you be simultaneous a like the head of a cartel level criminal, yet also at the same time, it's like they're not even. I mean, it's like these. Robert Klein used to have a joke about Spiro Agnew. You know, it's like he said, I'd probably respect him if he took more. You know, but he was taking like a couple $1,000 in envelopes, and he's like, and he said, you know, he had a joke about like how the guys who went to the moon.
What a shitty way to get
the guys who went to the moon could have really, you know, really like, you know, set themselves up for lifetimes. He says, you know, plants the flag, Coca-Cola, you know, says the first words on the moon. It's like, what are you going to do, you know, for next eternity? He says, but Agnew would have sold out cheap. It'd have been like Joe's Crab Shack, Baltimore, you know, and Biden's the same way. It's just like, you know, for what they have sold us out in terms of the Ukraine. I mean, you look at what has been done to protect these criminals in terms of, I mean, literally, we're practically at war with Russia over it. I mean,
let me just say how pissed off, like on a personal note, like I screwed up when I moved from California to DC, I was still practicing real estate and I was traveling bi-coastally. And so I forgot, because, you know, realtors, you're a 1090, you're not an employee, right? So you have to keep track of your own money. So I forgot that there was a $25,000 commission check. I forgot one commission check when I did my taxes, because mind you, I was in part California and part DC. And so when I moved out here, I was trying to, you know, juggle all these different state taxes. I forget one commission check for $25,000 more than 10 years ago. And I have been through the fucking mud with the IRS and all of this stuff, and federal taxes, state taxes. And then here you have this asshole burying millions of dollars through Burisma in Ukraine with the IRS, and daddy gives him a pardon. So all that money that he earned is completely tax-free. Effectively, that's what happens, right? Is dad gave him this carte blanche pardon.
Well,
so all that money goes tax-free and he's unpunished. Like he just gets to earn it and be good.
I don't. Well, I don't believe that's the case. The person who hooked him up was David Weiss, who let the statute of limitations lapse on 2 of his biggest earning years, where I think he pulled in, you know, millions. I mean, he literally, I think his tax liability for I think it was 2014 and 15 was something like $15 million. So you can imagine what he took in. But as far as I know, if you're prosecuted for any kind of tax violations, you don't just, it doesn't discharge the tax debt. He still has that tax debt. And I'm sure, I mean, unless they pull something, but I mean, you still are down for that. I mean, the criminal penalties are in addition to.
I thought the Sugar Bro paid off that Hunter's money.
He did. He brought him up to current on taxes. But I mean, I guess you're right. The Sugar Bro isn't going to get paid back. No, nobody's going to get paid back. So,
well, have you ever seen Tyler, like a pardon? Is this normal for pardons to just cover this wide swath of like this 10-year time frame where it says everything? The wording is weird, right?
Yeah.
It says everything that we know of, and the other things that perhaps we don't know of are also pardoned.
I've seen wording like that, but not for such a long period of time.
Yeah. When I think of the tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of Americans from the inner city, from, you know, the Black community, from everybody who are languished or have languished in prison because of Joe Biden's mad law and order bootlicking, can't you know, pump enough laws up, mandatory minimums, the drug war. I think of the blight that this man has been on the criminal justice system in the United States. The number of people who've been incarcerated for ridiculous, absurd, draconian, frankly, cruel and unusual sentences of incarceration because Joe Biden had to, you know, criminalize glow sticks and, you know, the Rave Act and all his fucking bullshit pandering that he's done over the years. You know, the 100,000 cops, the Biden crime bills. And I think of like all the damage this man has done, and that he just so cavalierly like gives this blanket massive pardon and to his son, just like, you know, I mean, it's such a fuck you. It's a perfect, frankly, reminder. If people were starting to think, oh, Joe, people get, obviously when the combat's over, I guess, and he's a lame duck, people sort of tend to be, as Americans are good, I think, good-hearted people, they soften up, like, oh, why did I hate Joe Biden again? Well, yeah, here's a reminder. And I'm glad, because I think his final act should be the absolute degradation that reflects his corroded, empty, self-aggrandizing criminal career as a politician and a parasite on this. As I said, glory, hallelujah. We have only 6 weeks to go, I guess, or roughly a little more than that, actually, until this man is finally out of public life and no longer on the dole, no longer getting a public paid taxpayer paid paycheck, no longer.
Well, he'll still get a taxpayer paid paycheck.
Well, yeah, no, you're right. He's got a pension. I know. They ought to remove that. Oh God, yeah.
So,
no.
Tyler,
Ted, I was just enjoying that moment, and you had to ruin it for me.
Sorry,
damn it.
That's what I do.
No, that's fine. Look. But he's not going to have all the trappings of that he's loved so much. This man has pined to be the big shot since he was a bullshit artist, 29-year-old half-assed county councilman who lied his way and two-faced his way into the Senate in '72, and has been just a complete wart on the ass of American politics ever since.
Tyler, let me ask you about the media coverage. The first thing when I heard about this news yesterday, by the way, so this is a two-part question. I think it's fair to say that no one is surprised by any of this, but it's still shocking, if that makes sense.
It's irritating, annoying as fuck.
It's because you could see it coming a million miles away.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like there's something especially irritating about being lied to when you're being lied to, and the person who's lying to you knows that and just keeps doing it.
Everybody knows it's a bullshit story.
It's kind of like, I'm taking the piss at you. I have no respect for you at all, the American people. I don't give a shit. I'm doing whatever the fuck I want, and there's nothing you can fucking do about it, right? But that's not what I wanted to get at.
I love that we can swear on this show.
It's so fun.
Don't you wish they would just say that, though? It's like, we all know Joe is full of shit saying he's not going to interfere in his son's case. We all know Hunter is this dirtbag, sister-in-law fucking gun-toting, whatever.
I would have tapped that.
She's fine. She's pretty. What is it? Hallie? Is that her name? Hallie?
Yeah. She's a real. I could tell you.
She was pretty dishy on the beach there in that one photo.
But
I was
still,
let me say her name. Or what I would say, it begins with a C and ends with a T, and it ain't cat.
I'll need one guess.
Although her sister was nice. I liked her sister. But I'll tell you what I liked was Kathleen Biden. It was, Hunter really screwed up bad. She was a. Oh,
was that the wife? The first wife?
His wife. Yeah. I thought very fond of her.
What about this? So let's talk about the media, though. So this news breaks last night, and today I checked the New York Times op-ed section. I checked the Washington Post, right? The two leading news organs in the United States. The New York Times has one piece by Bret Stephens. It's a half length. It's probably 250 words. And the reaction is suitable and appropriate. But that's all there is, such as there is. There's no editorial. There's nothing else. All the resident liberals, who are the 95% of the people who are there, all the Democrats, they're all just like, la, 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 la. Let's talk about the situation in Azerbaijan or whatever. And then at WAPO, literally nothing. It's just donut hole. Yeah. Nothing. We're not even going to comment on this. Nothing. And it's really toxic, right? All along, they told us, absolutely not. We're not going to pardon Hunter. No way, no fucking way. Will not happen. Quit asking about it. What's wrong with you? And then it's like, oh, yeah, we're pardoning him.
You wouldn't, I would almost feel sorry for that Muppet, Karine Jean-Pierre, if she wasn't such a supercilious twit when she answered these questions, as though I have told you before, she's this one ridiculous. A ridiculous figure. And probably, she deserved to have to spout those lies. But, it's I've said before, it's like Biden, he'll lie when it's not even necessary. And in this case, it's like the fact that they denied it all along. I mean, I guess there maybe was a thought that maybe Harris would win and that she would take care of him, or something like that. But I guess, the Trump victory really cornered him. Obviously, he had no other choice. There's no other route to do that. So it was inevitable. Again, it's like instead they can never. I mean, this is like it's psychopath level behavior when they can do this and issue some sort of statement that's like the completely self-righteous. I mean, it's like I'm numb to it, but I'm just like you said, it's no less shocking that he could get on his high horse when this man has unleashed the most lawfare and has weaponized the judiciary and the DOJ against so many citizens, and then complains as though his son is targeted because he's his son. No, he's targeted because he's your son, because he's a crook, because he's your son, because he's cashed in on your, your influence peddling and racketeering with him. That's why he's targeted, because he's your son, not because, oh, Joe Biden's such a, immaculate, amazing person that we have to all take him down, and all those meanies, all those Republican meanies in the DOJ, right? They're all targeting, Hunter Biden. I mean, it is ludicrous. It is, again, it's a fitting sort of epilogue, I guess you could say, to his corroded career, his absolutely repulsive persona, and his absolute complete lack of any moral character whatsoever. He is just a common thug, a crook, a shanty Irish clown. And again, it's just a few weeks. This man, I mean, I'll probably run into him in church in Rehoboth Beach when I go back to see my mother. I don't know what oof. I have trouble holding back,
I know it's hard even for me to like drive by the Biden rest stop on I-95.
Oh, really?
Oh my God, yes. I stopped there.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's like,
where is it?
It's like in that little corner that I-95 runs through the northwestern corner of the state.
I just stopped
state?
there.
Delaware.
Delaware and New Jersey. Yeah.
What was I thinking? Duh. I didn't even realize. Oh God. Yeah. It would probably be. Let's see. Oh, I know which one you're talking about. They renamed that for him.
I'll send you a picture.
It's in Newark, right before you get to the Delaware Memorial Bridge, right?
Yes, I got to send that to you because I stopped there and I went, "Are you fucking kidding me? They named this for him? Gross. Like, really?
It's absurd." Well, and I was in Scranton. Right. I drove through Scranton fairly recently, and there's a Joe Biden highway there too. But like, it's like, what? I don't even understand. So they should take that shit down now. But I mean, so question though. Manila brought this up earlier before you came on. I mean, and I think it's really an important question to follow up. Is Joe afraid? Did he do this in part because he was afraid that Hunter might blab if he wasn't allowed to be kept silent about his shady Burisma dealings? I mean, I suspect we're going to learn a lot more about all that, or we would have learned a lot more about that under a Trump administration, especially with more investigatory power. And, I think it's safe to say that military support for Ukraine is going to ebb, and the Zelensky government its days are counted. So with all of those developments, was there a concern that the truth about the relationship between Hunter Biden and Burisma was going to come true? And it was like, we've got to insulate him. We've got to give him a pardon. We've got to make sure he shuts the fuck up. Yeah.
Well, I would say that would be true had he been prosecuted for anything coming close to all of the public corruption and influence peddling and that kind of stuff. Instead of just the least charges, I mean, the most attenuated charges, the most removed charges possible from Joe. I don't think there's anything in the pipeline. I think, and I didn't see any. I didn't detect. I mean, obviously, if you're going to have someone spill the beans, it has to be to some sort of prosecutorial entity, and I haven't seen any prosecutorial entities or prosecutors.
Well, he was starting to write a book, according to Manila, right?
Well, okay. Well, yeah. I mean, I guess if he was sitting in prison, but I mean, that was just never going to happen. It was a fait accompli. they ought to be more worried about like, get somebody kidnapping and not brainwashing, but literally interrogating them somehow, or putting truth drugs into them and having to spill the beans. But there's really, what is there to discover? I guess. I mean, other than maybe hidden accounts, we already know. I mean, go to Marco Polo, Biden laptop or BidenReport.com. My friend Garrett Ziegler has done, I mean, an amazing job. It's hundreds and hundreds of pages. You can see it all, and that's just from the laptop from, I guess, from about what 20. Late 2000s up until about 2016, or a little later than that even. And you can see everything. I mean, all the wheeling and dealing. So I don't know what more there would be to reveal that we don't already know. I mean, we can see that it was obviously he was paid millions of dollars by this corrupt. And I remember going on the air in Delaware in 2014 when I read this press release and be like, oh yeah, Hunter. Oh yeah. I remember him being I remember he was a pipeline expert.
Yes.
I mean, it was just like, we're laughing.
Definitely an oil
and
expert.
I never thought it would
expert.
come to this. I mean, but my God.
But yeah, it's become obviously like an international scandal at this point. But so let me ask you this. As a lawyer, what's next for somebody when they get pardoned like this? Like, do they just sail off into the sunset? Are we just never going to hear from Hunter ever again? Is he going to finally shut the fuck up and lay low and just count his lucky stars that his dad got him off the hook one last time? Or does he somehow, I don't know, exploit this? I don't know how you would, but somehow exploit it and make more money off of it somehow. Or, I mean, what happens when somebody gets pardoned? Now what for this dirtbag?
Well, Hunter has never had any ambitions whatsoever in his life. He was just he was basically, I always knew that I said Bo, his older brother, is going to be Bo's the politician, the front guy, and Hunter's going to be the fundraiser, the whatever, the hatchet man, whatever you need him to be. And I think you could see how he's embedded himself in the corroded rectum that is Hollywood, basically the Hollywood culture. So
isn't his new wife, a producer or something? Like she's a filmmaker or something?
Probably. I mean, I'm sure. I'm sure he chose wisely. And look, he's been. You can see how he's developed those relationships, so he can just like any sort of like a lot of these. Like, imagine him more like, you think of a failed, actor or failed star, or someone who's they were a flash in the pan, or maybe they had some success, but then suddenly now they're just kind of skulking around Hollywood, and people know who they are, but nobody cares, and they can do whatever they want. I think you're gonna see him disappear into that. I mean, there's no way he has no public ambitions about anything. I think he's gonna, other than the only thing you'll see him up to is trying to rake in or trying to figure out how to keep the pipeline open for cash. I mean, I don't think anybody's gonna go to him in any capacity. I think he's disbarred at this point, or should have been. For anything, I mean, other than just the sort of the novelty of his celebrity, And look, I've hung out with him. Hunter can be a fun guy to be around and hang out with.
Oh, I bet.
But it gets honestly, like, I guess yeah, it just.
Well, I will say there was a story.
It's so degenerate. It's just hard to.
He was a shitty Airbnb renter. Apparently, he rented some high end. Yeah, he rented some high end house like in Venice near the canals in Los Angeles, and it was like a $12,000 a month rental. And apparently he trashed the place, and it was filthy and it was dirty, and there was bugs, there was like food. Like, apparently he was really gross.
Just like I said, I mean, I remember I mentioned that all the people they stiffed in Delaware, and I recall a story of their house, the Biden household, which was an old DuPont sort of manor house or estate house, a beautiful house, but I mean, it was built in probably the 1920s, and not much. They hadn't really kept it up, and apparently the Bidens, they don't keep the house. I mean, I guess maybe they've maids and whatever, but and there were these contractors in there, I guess, working on the kitchen, or like fixing like whatever the issues with this, you get it with practically 100-year-old house. And and one of the guys not knowing Jill was in earshot. He's like, in his typical Delaware, the sort of the towny accent. He's like, man, these people live like fucking pigs, and she heard it.
That's awesome.
They got thrown out immediately. And I'm sure they wouldn't have been paid anyway, like the rest of the the people they've stiffed. There's people, I'm talking like small business people with like maybe a guy who's a mason or a bricklayer with with maybe one or two guys and does a retaining wall for Joe that would be $35,000. This is probably this guy's month or and
Right,
just like,
right.
no, and they're like, sorry, you're not paying. What do you mean? What are you going to do? Sue the senator? I mean, it was literally like that. I mean, just like run like a mafia family, like a cheap mafia family. I'll just we've had the Bushes, the Clintons, the Obamas, the Bidens now. I mean,
although in fairness, Trump was famous for stiffing his contractors.
I was just going to say, yeah, but the thing is, people talk about
not the way the Bidens did. I mean, come on, Trump was doing massive projects that probably were. I mean, they probably ran up. I mean, you got to look at the market he was dealing with. In many cases, they probably overpriced what he was having it done. Plus, look, I mean, it is what it is. When you have a building project like a major development or a building you're putting up, you're going to have cost overruns, and you're going to. I mean, there's going to be issues in some cases where, look, I mean, they have to cut corners. They have to, sort of cut across the border. It's not going to be a viable project. That's different from someone having a person come into their home space or to their home, whatever, and literally just
or a little local salon.
Yeah, like exactly. And just like the working people and just screw them like you're some kind of royal really fucking imperial whatever, Caligula.
That's just
I know, and I'll say, and comparatively, Donald Trump is extremely generous with people. I mean, he leaves.
I have heard that.
Yeah, he'll literally do things like, oh, he'll hear that the waitress is, something over here that she has. He'll pay off her mortgage. It's like that kind of stuff.
Yes,
like he literally
quietly,
does
and
stuff.
we never hear about that stuff. And when Trump still had the hotel down here in DC, when they first opened, I myself went as a patron, but then I'm a reporter. I still went stalking around the entire main floor of the old post office building. And I asked everybody from the doorman to the bartenders to the waitresses if they had any encounters with Mr. Trump or any of the Trump kids. And everybody was gushing about the Trump kids and Mr. Trump himself and how generous he was, and like Christmas bonuses, and just everybody had nothing but gushing, glowing stories about Donald Trump. And it kind of gave me pause, because I was going, I just wasn't expecting that, I guess. I mean, I went there with an open mind. Obviously, I was there to have drinks with friends, but then I wandered away because the reporter in me, I said, I'm here. I'm gonna ask the workers, like, what have they experienced with Trump? And they had nothing but glowing stories about him.
Yeah, and it's not like they're like trying to suck up to the boss or afraid that if they say anything otherwise. No, it's genuine. And let me tell you something, it goes back as long as he's been anybody, literally back to the 80s. I know people who worked, a guy, friends who, one in particular was like, he worked security at the Trump casinos in Atlantic City, like in the 80s. And, he was raving. He was like, he couldn't understand how they were calling Trump like, homophobic or against LGBT, whatever, when he was the only casino in the entire Atlantic City, which the rest was run like sort of mobbed up, who would hire any gay people whatsoever.
Really?
And he was very, and also women. He had lots of women that and executive levels of his organization. It's like, it's just yeah, I mean, the defamation and the lies about him, I guess, I mean, I'm glad to see he was able to make a comeback, a serious comeback, because
it's an amazing story, right?
That is the comeback of the millennia.
Yeah, Bill Clinton
political
is no longer
comeback.
The comeback.
No,
not after this.
I mean, and we'll never see anything like that again. I mean, you'll never see a president, do 2 non-consecutive terms. I mean, the only close
Grover Cleveland.
Grover Cleveland.
I mean, in our lifetime, certainly, I mean, this was such a rare. I mean, who
especially, I mean, with the headwinds he had to confront with.
I remember, it's so funny you say that. Like, I was thinking back to about a year ago when I thought about when they started, like, all the lawfare prosecutions and all, it was all coming into view. And I thought, my God, this man, the number of like hurdles, the number of needles he has to thread, the number of how he has to perfectly down the line. I'm just sort of
it's like the
wow.
trials of Job. I mean,
yeah.
it reminds me, there's a Central Asian explorer named Sven Hedden. He was a Swedish guy. And one of the books that he wrote is called Trans-Himalaya. And if you read like business journals and you ask where they ask CEOs, like, what's your favorite book about how to learn how to be a great manager or business person and how to overcome adversity? A lot of them will point to this book. So I checked it out. It's actually really hard to find. And you have to track it down like on eBay. And sometimes if you're lucky, you can get like a reprint. But anyway, it's like this guy goes into modern day Tajikistan and the deserts of China. And basically everything that can go wrong keeps going wrong, right? Like there's the sandstorm, there's the blizzard, there's the disease that wipes out his canvassé, there's robbers, there's murderers. Everything gets fucked up and he survives, although most of his traveling companions die. And it's like, it's like that kind of crazy narrative politically. I really wish Teddy White were still alive.
Wait, there's no punchline like he hits the lottery at the end or something?
Yeah. The punchline is he survives. And
great.
And he maps and charts some new areas of Central Asia. That's it, and comes back and gets greeted by the Swedish king. No, it all works out. And he ends up living another 40 years and seeing some cool and doing some cool and interesting things. The point is that, I wish that there was a book, The Making of the President 2024, that would really, like, there will be, that just marches us through this amazing series of comebacks. But I think the real analysis is going to be, this was the ultimate example of what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. The lawfare enhanced his candidacy. He may not have won without it.
That's the other thing I was thinking about at the beginning when we were getting ready to come on. I thought, what if Trump had they just said, okay, fine, just he wins a re-election in 2020? I think things would be it would be markedly different. I think we'd have it's just like the fortunes of the Republican Party, of the MAGA people, of the populist forces, of the grassroots, of the new media, the alt media. I don't think any of that would be what it is today.
I agree.
Were it not for this wilderness period that was like a perfect leavening, so to speak, period, and prepared Donald Trump to step into this moment and to have this massively resounding victory. That's again not just a restoration of and a validation of him, but also a total rebuke of the the absolute sort of crux issues that we've been living, from the border to the tranny stuff to the what else? The weaponization of government, or weaponization of law, and justice. I mean, all that stuff was like came together, and it was like, man, you rarely get an election where it's that clear a set of issues in terms of a mandate, and also the fact of either validating or refuting the lawfare and what they think of what was done to Donald Trump. And I'm so glad it turned out the way it did, because I've said before, he has to win, not because I think he's the greatest thing since sliced bread, but because they cannot get away with doing what they did to him. And fortunately they haven't. Thank God. Thank you, American people.
Yeah. It's such a resounding win. Nobody can take that away. It wasn't just an electoral victory. It was just a thumping. It was the popular vote and electoral. Like, it just, there's no if and or buts about it. And it was a huge rebuke, I think, of the entire Democratic Party and everything we've lived through the last 4 years. And so I don't know. I think it's, to me still, though, whether you like this or not, Tyler, I'm going to say at the end of that election process, this was a victory for Joe Biden against his own party.
Well, a vengeance victory,
totally. He was like, haha, sure. You fuckers, you thought you can coup me?
I just love how Joe Biden's, his ultimate sort of victories to fuck over his entire party and his vice president.
I think ultimately that's his win.
I love it. It's so fitting. It's
right.
So cosmically perfect.
I think it's
That's
also
exactly my point.
ironically Bernie Sanders has to be laughing his ass off. It's like you shivved me not once but twice to put this asshole in the second time.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't have done this to
what do you think Hillary thinks? Jeez, my God.
That was this election was not only a victory of Trump, it was a rebuke of the entire Democratic Party, the DNC, and the dirty tricks they've been playing the last 15 years. And I think it's exposed and it's all out in the open. And now they're going to have to recalibrate. They don't know, what 2028 is going to look like, but they're saying Gavin Newsom, they're saying AOC, they're saying Pete Buttigieg. They have no idea where to go. They're on their back foot, but what they haven't learned is to look inward yet, because this was all their own doing, and they deserve to squirm and writhe in pain the next 4 years for just everything we've lived through the last 6 years because of them.
I see someone asked a picture, asked a question. I could maybe, you want me to answer real quick, or
please
go for it.
Just says, does Tyler think Trump 2.0 will avoid the mistakes of his first administration in terms of terrible hires and getting captured by the deep state? Kash Patel is FBI director. I'd say, yeah, certainly yes. I think there's pitfalls you're never going to be able to avoid, but and the Democrats are going to play their games, but no, it's going to be radically different. I think there's he was naive and had no allies really when he entered in 2017. This time he's got a whole wrecking crew with him: Bobby Kennedy, Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy. I mean, Radcliffe at the as CIA. It's already radically different. We just got to get them through the rhino phalanx in the Senate.
All right,
Tyler.
Hunter Biden, what a story.
Why would you keep calling? Don't call him that.
No, I know.
Tyler Nixon.
It's the topic is Hunter Biden.
I know. This good stuff.
I'll let you guys get back to your bestiality discussions and so forth.
Yes, oh my God.
As
another
usual.
bit of degeneracy. And
that is the TMI. This is the degeneracy that encapsulates the Biden administration 4 years, right? There it is.
Yes. And I love it. Well, I love the TMI show. I don't love the Biden.
All right, Tyler, come back soon.
Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, and that was Tyler Nixon. Thank you so much for being here on the TMI show. He is God. I don't have his bio up. I'm like, I'll
do the bio. Tyler is an Army infantry veteran, a counselor at law, a constitutionalist, an advocate, a writer, technologist, critical historian, and extremist in the defense of liberty. So that's always fun when we have Tyler on, because how often, what are the chances, right, that we happen to be friends with somebody that grew up with the freaking Bidens, with the sons of the president of the United States? Like, when does that happen? And the son, the surviving son happens to be the dirtbag that he is, and one of our friends happens to know where some of the bodies are buried and what it was like growing up with them, So obviously Tyler is the guy that you had to bring on to talk about this, because not only is he an attorney, he actually knows the Bidens. So for all those that were new to this, that's who Tyler is. Because obviously, Ted, people that followed us from before know who Tyler is. But if you
think about
familiar,
we come full circle. Think of all the times that we talked to Tyler about Hunter Biden. And then, here's the denouement. He was really the perfect person to have us to join us today.
Yeah. So a lot of the viewers may not be familiar with who Tyler Nixon is. That's who he is. Just by chance, Tyler Nixon grew up, born and raised in Delaware, grew up with the Biden boys, and literally grew up with them, knew them. So it's just a crazy small world.
It is.
And so for this to happen the way it did, Tyler Nixon is the perfect guy to bring on. And Tyler has gone to the other end of the political spectrum from the Biden family. And he's actually seen, he's been to the party, he's been to he's seen how this family works, and the corruption behind closed doors, and the public persona and image that's been so carefully crafted of Joe Biden, Ted, of all, this poor, here's poor old Joe. He's like this widower, blah, blah, blah. So sad. Not that that's not true, but that's the image that they put forth, and not really the dirtbag that he is, that we elected as president in 2020. So here we are. All right. That's going to do it for us. We've gone way over, but it was, we took a long break, so it's okay for us to go a little way over. While we have you, we ask that you please become a paid subscriber. If you are on Rumble, just hit that $5 that subscribe button at the bottom of the chat, $5 a month, so we can keep doing the show for you. If you're enjoying what you're seeing, our weird, random pug sex jokes, you want more of it, hit that subscribe button. Who doesn't want more? Who doesn't want to talk about bestiality on a Monday morning? That's fun. But of course, that'll keep us fully independent. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, please do hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything. It helps us get to the numbers we need to reach in order to become fully monetized. And then we can, start making a decent income from this when the numbers grow. And of course, please share. If you're not in a position monetarily, please share our channel, share our clips, cut them up, like draw dick pics on us. It doesn't matter. Whatever. Just share it. Just get us out there. Help us grow. Draw pugs on our faces. Whatever. I don't think we mind, right, Ted?
No.
Or cat. Hi.
And no cat fucking. Cat fucking is verboten.
Oh. No animal fucking, people. If I got to send you off with a message on a Monday, don't bang your animals.
That seems like a low bar.
Just please don't.
Even Hunter, that might be one of those things that Hunter Biden was pardoned for in that 10 years.
I know.
That we don't know about. I don't think Hunter Biden's a cat fucker.
Doesn't seem like the type. At all? You don't think he's a pet fucker?
Nah,
no, he does like those little young prostitutes.
That's true.
We don't know how young, how old, because it's in Budapest or wherever it was that he was.
True.
But they look very, very, very young, is all I'll say. So, and he likes pictures of his teeny bopper niece. Ooh.
That's a little weird.
That's a little in her bathing suit, like middle schooler.
Yeah, that's not good.
That's not good. So animal banging, maybe not a Hunter thing. Kitty paraphernalia, maybe.
Kitty petting is fine.
Anyway, that's going to do it for us, guys. We'll be back on Monday. Ted and I are both on the mend.
We are.
I slept more than one consecutive hour without waking up in a coughing fit. So that is the win. That is a win. So I will take it, but we're getting there.
We're living the same life. It's like the coughing thing. It's like, brutal.
So I'll take it. We will take it. All right. Thank you guys for being here with us. We will be back tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern, the TMI show, Manila Chan, Ted Rawl. We is Audi 5000. Adios, amigos. Thanks for being here.
Au revoir. À bientôt. À demain.
Bye.